Well, for the first time in nearly 2 weeks, Karmelo Anthony waking up back at home this morning. Here's a look at the moment when the North Texas teen accused of murder walked out of jail.
Family's legal team demanding the court freeze every dollar tied to that transaction. Their argument? The wire wasn't just shady, it was retaliatory, a move to ensure the Metcalfs never get justice in the form of financial restitution. The filing includes a chilling claim that the offshore account was opened 2 months before the indictment. 2 months before the family was officially charged, 2 months before the public even knew an arrest was coming, which raises the question, what did they know and when did they know it? And then something else leaks, a now viral email recovered from a cloud backup, allegedly written by Karmelo's mother. In it, she refers to the estate sale as our insurance. One line stands out, if they come after us, we'll already be out of range. That phrase hits hard. Because while the Metcalf family still attends hearings, still pleads for justice, still wakes up every day in the same house where Austin's bedroom door is still closed, Karmelo's parents are quietly repositioning money in foreign banks, building distance not just from prosecution, but from accountability. And now the court has to decide, were these offshore moves financial strategy or evidence of guilt? Because when you wire millions to another country while a family's still burying their son, people start asking what you're really running from. You're starting to notice the shift in tone, from quiet speculation to open confrontation. The Metcalfs aren't just filing motions anymore, they're going public. In a televised interview, Austin's father stares straight into the camera and says, they knew what was coming. That's why they moved the money. That's why they ran. The clip goes viral. In the interview, he confirms their attorneys had already reached out to Karmelo's family weeks before the indictment, offering to settle privately for counseling costs, funeral support, even a public acknowledgement of wrongdoing. He says they were ignored, stonewalled, then the house sold, then the money vanished. Now the Metcalfs are demanding more than compensation. They want a full federal audit of every account Karmelo's parents have touched since the stabbing. They've also filed for a court order to claw back funds already moved offshore, an aggressive move that signals they don't just want justice in theory, they want action. But here's where things twist again. A private investigator hired by the Metcalfs claims to have uncovered a chain of shell companies used to mask the $30 million transfer. The names don't mean much on the surface, generic entities tied to anonymous trusts. But one of them, registered under an alias used by Karmelo's father in previous real estate deals. And now, that's being used as direct evidence that this wasn't a coincidence. It was a playbook, a step-by-step attempt to erase $30 million from U.S. jurisdiction before the legal storm hit full speed. And through it all, the Metcalf family stands their ground. Because if the Anthony family thought money could make this go away, they miscalculated one thing. Some families don't want a payout, they want the truth, and they'll follow the money until it leads them there. You wake up to news that federal agents just subpoenaed 2 international banks, one in the Caymans, one in Luxembourg. Both are believed to have received large deposits tied to shell entities connected to the Anthony family. And now the term cross-border obstruction is trending. What that really means? The feds aren't just suspicious anymore, they're circling in. A leaked memo from the Department of Justice lists the transfers as potentially structured to evade pending civil penalties. That phrase alone could open the door to a second wave of charges, not for murder, but for financial interference. And the first people demanding those charges? The Metcalfs. Austin's mother held a press conference just hours after the subpoenas dropped. No lawyers, no podium, just a handwritten statement and a trembling voice. They moved their money. We can't move our son. That quote floods social media. Thousands repost it with one word: heartbreaking. But heartbreak is starting to turn into legal firepower. The Metcalfs' legal team has filed an emergency petition requesting that all offshore transfers by the Anthony family be declared fraudulent conveyances, a legal term used when someone moves assets to avoid paying future court judgments. If granted, the court could issue recovery orders to foreign banks, essentially pulling the money back, if it's still there. The Anthony family has yet to respond publicly, but sources close to the case say they've gone dark. No statements, no interviews, no court appearances since the subpoenas hit. And that silence is growing louder by the day, because every dollar they move makes it look less like protection and more like premeditation. And when the money's hiding in another country, it's no longer about wealth, it's about running. In plain English, the court is accusing Karmelo Anthony's parents of moving $30 million offshore because they anticipated the Metcalf family would sue. Not after the indictment, not after the arrest, before. Now that timeline is everything. Investigators have pieced together a trail of internal emails, routing instructions, and even WhatsApp messages between the Anthony family's financial advisor and a third-party asset relocation consultant based in the British Virgin Islands. In one flagged exchange, the consultant writes, "Funds will be secure long-term. U.S. courts won't reach them." That message was sent 11 days before the indictment. Meanwhile, the Metcalfs aren't slowing down. Their lawyers have filed a motion to freeze all domestic assets tied to the Anthony family immediately, arguing that if the court doesn't act now, there may be nothing left to recover by the time a civil case is even heard. The motion includes a declaration from a forensic accountant who states plainly, "This pattern of movement is consistent with what we've seen in cases of pre-litigation asset concealment." But this isn't just about numbers and filings anymore. The Metcalfs are running out of patience and options. Austin's sister posted on social media for the first time since the tragedy, "They took our brother. Now they're trying to take justice too." The post goes viral in minutes. Because the truth is, this case isn't just about who committed the crime. It's about what's being done to erase the consequences. And when you hide $30 million before the courtroom doors even open, people stop calling it strategy and start calling it guilt. You watch the footage from the latest hearing, not a trial, just a motion to freeze assets. But the tension in the courtroom feels like a verdict is coming. Karmelo Anthony's parents sit side by side. No expressions, no movement, just quiet. Meanwhile, the Metcalfs are seated across the aisle, surrounded by supporters wearing shirts with Austin's face on them, shirts that read, "Justice can't be wired away." You hear gasps when the prosecution presents a visual timeline of the money trail. Estate sold for $30 million, $4.2 million routed through a U.S. shell corp, $3.8 million sent to a trust in Belize, $10.6 million moved to an offshore fund in the Caymans, remaining funds unaccounted for, status unknown. Then they drop the real bomb, an internal memo from a private wealth advisor, allegedly hired by the Anthony family just days before the home was listed. The subject line? Urgent restructuring prior to legal exposure. The body of the email includes the phrase, "Ensure all assets are jurisdictionally protected before June 17th. June 17th, the same day the grand jury was first scheduled to review the indictment. The courtroom goes silent, and for the first time, even Karmelo's legal team doesn't object. Because this isn't speculation anymore. This is a blueprint. And now the Metcalf's attorney is pressing for something even more aggressive, a federal freeze across all known accounts tied to the Anthony family, including third-party transfers. He calls the situation a deliberate laundering of justice. You watch the judge take it all in, and in that moment you realize this case was never just about a murder. It's about how far someone will go to keep what they have, after taking everything from someone else. You don't need a verdict to know what people are thinking. You can feel it in the courtroom, in the way the Metcalf family refuses to look across the aisle, in the way Karmelo's parents sit motionless, blinking through a storm they pretended wasn't coming, and most of all, in the way the judge finally speaks. Not a ruling, not yet, just a sentence that cuts deeper than any headline ever could. This court does not believe these transactions were made in good faith, and with that, the freeze is approved. Every domestic asset linked to the Anthony family, bank accounts, trusts, pending payments, is officially locked. But what about the offshore funds? That part's still in play. The Department of Justice has now filed a formal cooperation request with foreign financial authorities, invoking emergency international compliance under the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty. It's a long shot. It could take months, years, but it signals one thing clearly. The feds aren't done, and neither are the Metcalfs. Because for them, this was never just about money. It was about erasing the silence that followed their son's death. The silence that was padded with wealth, buried under trust funds, disguised as asset planning. And now, for the first time, the courtroom feels like theirs. Not because they've won, but because someone finally said it aloud. What happened wasn't just tragic. It was orchestrated, funded, hidden. And justice? Justice might be slow, but it's patient. Because even when you run your money across oceans, the truth follows every wire.